Welcome back to a slightly less awkward episode of our Table Talks and Tequila. I'm Brittany, if you're new here.
I'm Anthony, if you're new here.
Which everybody probably is new here because it's only our second episode. Today we're going to be talking about uncomfortableness versus vulnerability and how we've used them to be adventurous in our lives and how it helps us trust our gut feeling and trust the situations we're in. So since I was little, I've always had this connection with food. If you're wondering why we do table talks and pairing it with a food or a drink, specifically tequila, it's easy to take a shot of and chill the nerves out a little bit.
I wouldn't say easy to take a shot of, okay? It relaxes, but I'm not a big tequila drinker. I know I might be surprised to some of you, but for those of you that do know me, you know I'm a Hennessy guy through and through. Hennessy and Coke, to be exact. Coke like soda, not that type of party. But I think tequila is fun. It's different and definitely helps relax the vibes.
So with food for me, I've grown up with a very severe food allergy to peanuts. And I've had this great relationship, but also standoffish relationship with food because it's life or death, basically. But I love the culture around food and just gathering around a table, sitting down, calming down, and asking somebody about their day, getting to connect and look somebody in their eye after a long day. Our little one, Dana, he will ask you as soon as you get to the table, how was your day? And it's so sweet to see him so concerned. But then he's like fiddling around and doesn't even listen to your response half the time. He just wants to ask you, Mommy, Daddy, how was your day?
Yeah, it's like routine. You know what I'm saying? It's like you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth. Dana sits down at the table and says, how was your day? Even in breakfast. If we sit down for breakfast, he's asking, how was your day? Like, dude, the day just started.
Yeah.
But it's good. He's asking. He's curious. At least in that split second.
Yeah. All right. So our tequila today, I will let Anthony introduce it.
So our aunt and uncle, seeing that we did one podcast with some tequila, and they thought it was a good idea to buy us some tequila, which is a bottle we've never even seen before, but it is certified organic. And it's just tequila blanco. Obviously, you can see a big red one, and it just says 1, 2, 3. So
you can find them on Instagram too. I think their Instagram is 123 tequila. I think I'll have to check it. I'll put it in the description.
Yeah. You'll see that one big red one, and you'll figure it out. Yeah, no. Just try to hit me with the...
Well, cheers to our second episode.
Cheers to the second episode, Uncomfortability. It's pretty smooth. This is not full, by the way. I do have work in the morning, so... taking a full shot of that would be fairly rough, but it's good.
Whew. All right. Let's get into it. So to be uncomfortable, for me, is a positive thing. Whereas I feel like a lot of other people might view it as bad. You don't want to be uncomfortable, or uncomfortable helps you grow. Right? Whereas vulnerable, people talk about being vulnerable, showing your emotions, opening yourself up. But for me, I found when we are being adventurous, feeling vulnerable is bad. It's a red flag for me. It's a trust your gut moment. So that being said, do you find yourself feeling uncomfortable a lot and in a positive way, or uncomfortable a lot in a negative way?
It's hard to say. It's all a matter of what is going on. what we're doing, where we're at. Now, as a family, I'm not a big fan of being vulnerable. To me, that's like Britt was saying, that's danger. And, you know, being the protector that I am, vulnerability is not a good thing, because then I gotta be on the lookout. I'm really not enjoying myself. I'm worried about the kids. But being uncomfortable is okay depending on what that uncomfortability is. Now, if we're swimming in a lake where we can't see the bottom, I don't know how uncomfortable I would want to be with the kids. But if we're swimming and we know it's safe, but it's cold, I don't mind that uncomfortability. So it's all a matter of, I guess, relativity, not to be all fancy, but it's just a matter of where you're at, what you're doing. But I'm even uncomfortable in my house sometimes, especially with the kids when they're doing certain things. Just kind of uncomfortable because I don't know what they're gonna do. Sometimes they're doing flips on the couch. For those of you that have boys, know that they do that. Not saying girls don't do that, because I know they do, but I see it mostly in boys doing flips and stuff. And so when the boys are on the edge of the couch and they're kind of tussling back and forth, I'm uncomfortable, but I don't want them to see me uncomfortable, because, you know, that's one of those things they got to figure out. Now, I'm not going to let them be in danger, because now that crosses the line between uncomfortable and then that vulnerability factor, because are they vulnerable to harm themselves?
Mm-hmm. And moving to this log house, like, it's a huge lifestyle change for us. So everything we're doing makes me feel uncomfortable. Like learning how to use a wood stove, wood furnace to heat the house, and even the pellet stove. Like, that's fire in our house. Like, that puts a pit in my stomach. Like, oh my gosh, you're gonna burn the house down. But after about, I don't know, how many weeks did it take us to really feel comfortable using that as our heat source? But at first it was so uncomfortable to just go down there and light the stove and use it instead of just turning the switch on for the heat, the electric heat.
So even with the log house and moving to this, to the country, which we're not from the country, we're more from the suburbs, we had to be vulnerable as well, though, because we had to be vulnerable to our neighbors. And I had to feel vulnerable because I didn't know how to run a wood burning stove. Mm-hmm. You know, you got this thing in your house and you don't know how to use it. So I had to make myself vulnerable to the neighbor and ask him for help, which we have amazing neighbors. Mm-hmm. They're so awesome. But that's one aspect where vulnerability is a positive thing. Mm-hmm. And especially when interacting with people in general, you want to show some vulnerability, right, in my opinion, because it makes you human. You know, we're fairly vulnerable right now with you guys, talking to you, mm-hmm, letting you into our world, not worrying about judgment or awkwardness, uncomfortability. So yeah, it's to me, it's all relative. Mm-hmm. It's in, like, where are you at? What are you doing? Because in some environments, I don't want to be vulnerable to people.
Mm-hmm. Like today, I started the stove up by myself. Got it going. Got it lit. Naya did help me majority of the things. He knew exactly how to do better than I did.
My guy.
All I had to do was light the lighter in the thing. Otherwise, he did everything. He emptied the ash, everything. He knew exactly down to the T how to do it. Yeah. So I was proud of him for knowing that as a 6-year-old.
Because he always watches me and I always talk him through it.
And I'm always so far standoffish from the wood stove because I don't want to be down there.
That's another thing. To the parents, I'm not trying to preach, but you have to be vulnerable to your kids sometimes. I had no idea what I was doing for the first couple of weeks with that wood burning stove. And Naya and Danon watched me fumble through, smoke out the basement.
The house.
The house. All types of mistakes. Mm-hmm. And I could have easily been like, go upstairs, get away, because I don't want them to see me making mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to swallow my pride, my ego, and I let them watch me make a lot of mistakes for a few days, few weeks. And even every now and again, I still make mistakes, specifically to the wood burning stove. But like Britt was saying, when I was gone at work, Naya knew exactly what to do and what not to do, which,
Yeah.
Made my heart smile a little bit, that proud dad moment. Even though he's at the age where he tries to do the opposite of everything that I'm asking him to do.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, it's give and take.
So starting this YouTube channel, that was a whole new level of vulnerability for us. It makes me very uncomfortable. But like I said in our first video, I need to be uncomfortable. I feel like when it's uncomfortable, you can go be successful at something. It pushes you to your limits. It pushes you past your limits. It makes you learn new things and have new experiences. And I'm enjoying while it has taken us a very long time to get to the next episode. I think it's been almost 2 months now.
2 months?
Yeah, it was like the beginning of end of November, I think was the last one.
Really?
Or middle of November. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't
So
seem
middle
like
of January now. I
Well,
think it's almost 2 months.
Hopefully you guys missed us. At least friends and family missed us. For you guys out there just joining in, you'll miss us. You see we're awkward and quirky in our own little way.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, it's been 2 months.
Yeah, unfortunately. And it's just the little things that hold you back from being consistent and like trying these new things. And it comes down to being consistent and feeling that uncomfortableness to get over it and to finally feel comfortable in a way with a little bit of tequila to help to get there.
Yeah, I'm sweating speaking of that tequila. And Sandy and Uncle Steve, I don't know what that tequila is about, but
No second
sweating.
shot? Okay.
Second shot? I didn't know that was part of the program. It's that organic.
Yeah, right? Swipe that out. It's cleaning your pores out, detoxing.
Yeah, it's cleaning a lot out.
So something else, when we go to skate parks, the kids love going to skate parks, and I'm all about finding all of the new ones that are in our area. When we lived in California, there were so many. You could go to like 30 minutes away, an hour away, 2 hours away. I mean, you had like a wide range, pump tracks, indoor, outdoor. And normally there was, if you went before a certain time, it was fine. And so that's when I would go, because that's when I felt the most comfortable at a new skate park in an uncomfortable situation, because it was a brand new park. It might have been like an hour away. So I'd have to drive with the 2 kids, like if Anthony wasn't home or we didn't go on the weekends, because when you go to the weekend to a skate park, it's so busy most of the time. So, and I had like a 2-year-old who just learned how to ride a bike.
Wheel straight.
With no training wheels. And then a 4 or 5-year-old who was, well, my personal opinion, killing it at the skate park. So I was trying to let him hang with the other kids who were riding skateboards and bikes and scooters. And it would most of the time would be in a different neighborhood. So maybe I would ask one of the other moms that I knew who did BMX or scooters to come with me, and that would make me less uncomfortable, giving me the opportunity to have a successful trip there. I'd research it and maybe look it up on Instagram to see like throughout the week what the crowd is that's hanging out there. But I really would never go at night. Never past like 2 o'clock. I would mostly never head to a skate park, especially with the little ones, because that's just when the other crowds would come out. And you don't want to be that mom with their kids at the skate park while all the older guys are there. Like, you just don't want to do that. You don't want to be that person. So...
Yeah, that took some getting used to. Not even just about the skate park environment, just having such a young kid riding
at the skate park
on dangerous obstacles. I mean, I could give you the technical names, but let's just call them obstacles for simplicity, right? Because he's these huge drops, way taller than him, and this wobbly kid who had control over the bike, but just getting close to these edges. That was
not knowing that fear yet or that
yeah,
danger factor. He knew, like,
that was uncomfortable.
Danon didn't know, like, hey, you can fall in the bowl or the big drop. Like, Naya knew, kind of stay away from that, but he wasn't afraid of the danger yet. Where now he's kind of more reserved.
Yeah.
He doesn't do the big drops as much, but
yeah, it's that took some. Even for me to this day, I see him near these huge drops or in certain situations. It's uncomfortable, but
as he's consistent, though, trying to accomplish new skills, he does get better. He's uncomfortable while he's probably going, but as long as he's consistent in practicing the basics, practicing going up to the line or up to where he's about to drop in at or whatever, and like trying it, working himself up to going, and then once he goes, he feels so great about it. So he feels that fear and that uncomfortableness to go, but he has such a background of foundation. He has this foundation to land back on that I think helps him accomplish whatever he's trying to achieve at the skate park.
I mean, he's vulnerable to injury, but I think considering what he's doing, he's always going to be vulnerable to injury, which is not, as a parent watching your kid on the, half pipe or whatever it is that he's doing, there's always a chance of vulnerability, but it's just something you have to adjust to, and you have to let him, in this case our son Naya, know, hey, you got to be careful, there's other people, and you lay out all the vulnerabilities, or I guess dangers, if you want to call them that, because danger and vulnerability, that's the thing, is like, you don't want to be vulnerable to danger, but if he is, at least in my opinion, let him know. So we let him know, hey, there's other big kids here riding. Be careful. And normally the bigger kids watch him and are encouraging, especially when it's certain skate parks and times of day. If we're there really early, normally the serious guys aren't there that early when we show up. So.
Yeah, they normally get there 12-ish.
Yeah.
Depending.
It all depends. Out in
Well,
Virginia, it's cold. Yeah, so at least lately, it's been cold. We know it gets hot, but in California, when we were riding,
Yeah, you see all the pros out there.
Yeah,
no matter what
it was
time
all
it was,
times of days out. They were out there because it was nice all the time, 70 and sunny.
Yeah.
Shout out to California. We miss you a little bit. We love being here. Vulnerability.
I think we just haven't settled down fully here, so we're still getting planting roots here.
Comfortable. Huh? I'm bringing it back. I'm just bringing it back to the topic. You know, I go too far.
Okay.
Tequila's kicking in. 1, 2, 3, organic. Big red one on the front. Whatever the name of it is.
So school, a lot of people are going through a different type of school this year with the pandemic, I would say. So for teachers, they're having to learn how to do virtual teaching, and kids having to learn how to do virtual learning. And for Naya, he was going to be in kindergarten this year in California, but his cutoff date is actually different here in Virginia, so he's technically a first grader, but it doesn't matter. We're doing homeschool, and that's a whole adventure in itself. So we have mixed a couple kindergarten things with first grade things and trying to figure it out as we go. This is our first official grade school level homeschool that I've been teaching them. Last year we did a TK in California, and I feel like I had more guidance there. Virginia here, it's a little bit like teach what you want to teach, show progress at the end by taking a test or getting like a person to evaluate your portfolio. But if you do have kids in school right now, I'm sure they're so, what is the word? Like easy to pick up new things. that I think that they just kind of like roll with the punches. I know it might not be ideal what they're going through right now, and they are probably feeling a little bit uncomfortable with the whole situation. Enjoying homeschooling the kids and going out and meeting other homeschool parents or moms in our area here. And I remember the first day I had to enroll Naya in preschool when we were living in Barstow. And I had such a hard time with it.
Barstow, California?
In Barstow, California. And he wasn't even like 5 minutes down the road from us on a little base with like this many people. But I was so upset that I had to leave him at school. Because I was at school at the time going to get my nutrition, integrative nutrition health coaching certificate. And I wanted some time where Naya could be with other kids, and he hated it. And by the time he was comfortable with it, he would cry every time I left him and then be happy when I came and picked him up and say he never wanted to go back. But he would always go back. I think it was like 3 days a week. And so I don't think he ever got comfortable going to that school, but he was so young. I don't know, maybe your guys' kids do better with going to daycare or preschool, but I didn't like it. And then when we moved to Oceanside, California, I put Naya in a TK preschool-ish program, like a beginner intro to kindergarten or something like that, but it was like a preschool on where we were living. And there was this just pit in my stomach where I had to go get him. Like, I thought something was going to happen at his school that day. And I was sitting in, like, I dropped him off. I went in, I dropped him off. And then I went back to the car and I called my mom and I told her that I felt like something was wrong. And I just had this pit in my stomach that I needed to go back in and pick him up. So I went back in and I said, I know I was just here, but I'm going to pick my son up and I'm going to take him home for the day. And she was like, okay, hope everything's okay. And like when she said that, I almost started bawling in the office. I don't know why I felt this way. But now I'm so happy that like I can be home with them and teach them and go all along this school journey with them, because as they're learning, I'm learning, and I'm finding a new foundation in the enjoyment of learning again. The enjoyment of constantly learning as you grow older, rather than just living life. What's that saying about never stop learning or something like that? You know what I'm talking about? No?
No, I'm along for this journey with you guys right now. I'm listening. I'm you know what I'm saying? Tequila's kicking in.
Well, anyway, I was so
Tequila,
vulnerable
1, 2,
that
3.
day, and I had to listen to my gut, and I didn't feel like something good was going to happen of that day, so I just took him and I went home. And then I didn't enroll him back again. So his teachers were great. He learned so much in school and had so many good friends, but yeah, after that day, I didn't enroll him back in school, and I just tried to pursue homeschool, and it's been successful so far. But
Yeah.
well, you were working a lot in Barstow and stuff, but anyway, that's a different story.
I was working. I was being very uncomfortable working.
Well, I mean, that was a very uncomfortable job for you.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it or no?
No, we'll talk about my job in about a year and a half
Okay.
when I retire from it.
Let's just say he had to ride horses. And he's never rode horses except for, like, I don't know, when you were 10 or something on your aunt's
Not even.
house
It was
or
at my
something?
mom's work barbecue. Like, they had a little horse that they walked you around. Like,
Well, anyway, he went from one job to like, oh, here, ride this horse.
yeah, exactly.
So, here's a positive story. When we moved to Oceanside, California, I was 8 months pregnant. I was like literally 3 weeks away from giving birth. And I knew nobody in our neighborhood. And I'm walking down the street with Naya, and there's this lady, my neighbor, literally, like, we share a wall, a neighbor at, we lived in like a quadplex townhome thing. And she was watching me and didn't know if she should say hi or not. And I didn't want to say hi either because I didn't want it to be like awkward. Like I didn't want to hate her and then have to live next to her. So I looked up and she looked up at the same time and she was just like, hey. And later she told me, she's like, I have to say hi to this lady because she's 8 months pregnant. She looks like she's about to pop. And she just moved here. She probably has nobody.
Okay, so you talk about Carla.
Yes.
Shout out Carla. How you doing? Hope you guys are doing well in over the pond, as they say in Japan. Well, Carla says the story differently. Carla says she looked up and she seen Britt walking by. Mm-hmm. And you guys kind of looked at each other, not in a bad way.
No.
And Britt apparently thought Carla was welcoming her to her yard. And she just sat down. So Carla said she
offered me the chair.
Allegedly. I don't know the story, but I remember when Carla was telling it, I was like, that doesn't sound like Britt. But Carla said
I was so
she sat
awkward.
down. And that's why I was surprised, because Britt is not a very social butterfly. She's not standoffish, but she's not socially like, hey, all in your business.
Yes, I always say, you make the friends, I keep the friends.
Yeah, because I have no problem being uncomfortable or vulnerable if I get that vibe.
It's like that rejection. Like, I don't want to like open up and be vulnerable and then them just be like, I really don't like you. I don't want to be your friend.
See,
Not that anybody's ever said that to me.
I would rather someone say, I don't like you. I don't want to be your friend. Because at least we know where we stand.
Or being fake to me. Or like pretending that they like me or pretending that they want to not hurt my feelings and be like, lady, you need to leave.
Yeah, well, I think that's...
But our kids were the same age. Like, literally, Maya's birthday and her daughter's birthday are, like, a week apart.
Yeah.
And then we met our another neighbor who moved in because the house was, like, vacant. And her son's birthday was a week after that. So we all had these 3 kids that were in the same month, had their birthday together. And it was just such a nice time. And opening up and having that, like, quad of people... Because our other neighbor on the end, she had a daughter who was a little bit older. And it was just so nice to have that group of people. And you don't normally get that.
But it's where being military family, we have way more opportunity to be vulnerable in that sense, where we have to make friends a lot faster than, at least from our perspective, a lot faster. And not only have to, but there's a common understanding of like your husband's or spouse is an active duty military member. Oh, you've been through this. So there's a more of a common ground to, of understanding. Yeah. So that vulnerability could be a lot easier in that sense. And the uncomfortability could be a lot easier in that sense. But it's definitely still uncomfortable and vulnerable, because if your neighbors, you live right next to each other, and as anybody knows, you want to be friendly with your neighbor because it could make your life a lot easier, at least in our opinion.
Yeah. So with my peanut allergy, I find it very difficult to go out to a restaurant because that I feel like I'm being very vulnerable in a bad way, because if I just show up to any restaurant and I walk in, say it's like a Texas Roadhouse thing, like they have peanuts all over the floor or something, and I'm like, I can't eat here. I can't even move. I'm getting out of here. So for me, when I go to a new restaurant, I take out that vulnerability by calling ahead, checking their menu. Sometimes I'll search it on like the Spoken app before I go, especially if it's a new city. I tend to check on the Spoken app, and that way I know exactly where the ones are like that are peanut free, that I know can be safe for me and for us, and I don't really have to worry as much as going to like a new restaurant, walking in and it'd be like, hey, we cook in peanut oil, and I'm like, crap, now I have nowhere that I know where is safe for me to go. I'm just not gonna eat. And then that kind of puts me in like a shutdown mode, and that's not good. But if I love going out to restaurants, I love trying new places, I love connecting with the community in that way when there's not a pandemic. And I've been dying to go out here, trying to go to, there's like a cider place down the road I really want to try. And just doing that research before takes out that vulnerability for me, and it just makes it uncomfortable because it's a new environment, new place to go to. But once I take a deep breath, once I get to that restaurant and I look at their menu and I've talked with the manager, it's such a great experience, and I don't have to worry about it, and I can actually enjoy finding a nice allergy-friendly restaurant to go to. And then it becomes like a staple for us. Like, we want to go back. We want to have breakfast there. We want to like have date night when we ever get a date night, like once a year, because we choose not to go on a date.
Well, Nana's giving us time.
I know, it's just so weird leaving the kids after we have kids now. It's like if we don't leave them with her, it's like I want to leave them with other people that we trust. It's just I don't want to put the kids in that uncomfortable situation, because sometimes it can be uncomfortable or it can be fun. I'm sure it's fun when you have babysitters, but it's an uncomfortable situation for me because it changes up the routine of the night. And although I'm sure other parents can relate to me, although I want that time alone with like you on a date, it's like leaving the house at 6:00 or whatever and like going on a date is hard for me. Maybe when they get older it'll be different. Let me know if it's been easier for you as they get older to leave the house and go on a date, or if it's just a young kids thing, or if it's just me being a weird mom. No.
I'm okay with it most of the time.
Yeah, you just go with the flow, dad, over here. Talk about that time we went to the alpaca farm on our cross-country trip in the van. Were you uncomfortable or were you feeling vulnerable? Give a little backstory.
All right, so when we were moving from California to Virginia, we traveled cross country in the van. Now, mind you, it's during the pandemic. We were being safe and everything. So you talk about vulnerability and uncomfortable. All right, so we got all that. And we decided to stay on this alpaca farm.
Yeah. Through Harvest Host.
Through this app program called Harvest Host. It's like similar to Airbnb, but you could stay at people's farms with your recreational vehicle or RV. Yeah. We have a travel van. So Britt found this great alpaca farm in Tennessee,
Oklahoma.
We've never been to
right
Oklahoma.
outside Oklahoma City.
Yeah, so we pull up. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't what we expected. Welcoming people, everything was nice and comfortable. It was fine. We were just not accustomed to that type of vulnerability, lifestyle, environment. I don't know what you want to call it, but we've never pulled our van into a farm and stayed the night. The host made everything as comfortable as they can and could. They walked around. We seen the alpacas. But it was time to go to sleep. And first off, for whatever reason, the battery wasn't charging.
Mm-hmm. It was dead.
So,
it was like completely dead. We couldn't even use our electric basically in the van.
So the van, it was hot, humid, Oklahoma in July, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. So it was hot and humid. And the fan, we could open it, right? And that helps with some ventilation, but it started raining and thundering.
I thought it was a tornado. Like, I literally thought we were gonna like get carried away in our van in a freaking tornado in the middle of Oklahoma on an alpaca farm. So
once it starts raining and the fan gets wet, the vent closes.
Mm-hmm. so it's like beep, beep, beep.
So it closes.
At like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, it's raining. We're so hot. Fortunately, the kids was out.
Yes.
That was a positive. They slept through that. But I just felt very uncomfortable and vulnerable. Not because of anything of the host. It was just a situation that I
never want to be in again.
Wouldn't want to put myself and my family in. So it was a learning experience though, because most of the time when we go through these uncomfortable and vulnerable situations, we figure out what we like, what we don't like, if we're okay with being that uncomfortable again.
Right.
We learn from it. Right. We then either seek out those uncomfortabilities or vulnerabilities like in a healthy way, or we avoid them if we can. Because what we feel is uncomfortable and vulnerable, some people might feel that it's comfortable. And so if we have friends that do these uncomfortable, vulnerable type of activities, situations, we might experience it again, or we might go with them and do it, and whatever that is.
That's like paddleboarding for me, because
that's what I was thinking.
I never knew, like, the water scares me. For some reason. I got stung by a jellyfish when I was a teenager, and even then I was afraid of the water. And even if I can see my feet, I'm still afraid of the water. And just going out with somebody else to paddleboard and having them show me the ropes, I then got more comfortable paddleboarding. Anthony bought me one for my birthday when we were in California. I've taken the kids on, both of the kids on them, not in the ocean. It was in like a cove and everything. And I can't wait to go on the lake this year. And
I'm not on no paddleboard, not because I'm uncomfortable or vulnerable. I just don't enjoy it. It's not something that I would want to do.
Well, maybe we'll get jet skis down the road when the money is there. When we win the lottery. Yeah. We'll just rent them one day. We'll go on a date and we'll rent them, okay? If you want to contribute to that fund, go ahead.
Patreon coming soon. No.
So let us know some of your uncomfortable moments, or some of your extremely vulnerable moments, and how you may have overcome them, how you've grown from them. And tag us on Instagram, send us a story, or write them down in the comments below. So we can't wait to see them and hear about them. And hopefully you've enjoyed our talk tonight and joined us with your own, shot, cup of coffee, tea, soda, LaCroix, whatever you're into.
Drink of choice. Yeah.
Yeah. And we hope you have a good night or a good morning.
Good morning or good afternoon. Yeah. Peace out.
See you later.
See you at the next one. Hopefully it's not 3 months from now.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's
maybe in 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks. That's a long time to me. Maybe 2 weeks.
Well,
No promises.
Yeah. It's the world we live in.
Peace out.
Never know. Bye.